Today we will be covering Unit 2, Lesson 8, and we're talking about similar figures. So we are going to use proportions to figure out how to solve the missing side of a similar figure. Let's go ahead and get our notes set up, starting with the lesson number, today's topic, and the learning objective. Pause the video here and press play when you're ready to move forward. As usual, we're going to start with our key points. And so the first thing I need you to know is what in the world a similar figure is. Well, a similar figure are figures that have the same shape but different sizes. So you can see in this image, if you have two triangles, one's a large triangle and one's a small one. They're similar figures, right? Because they're the same shape, but they have two completely different sizes. So go ahead and write the definition. Press pause and hit play when you're ready to move forward. Now that we know what a similar figure is, we're going to follow some specific steps to help us find the missing side of a similar figure. Please make sure you write down every single step that we list out today. So the first thing you have to do is redraw the picture so that the similar sides match. Sometimes you might see an upside down triangle and then a right side up triangle, and they're still similar, but we need to make sure that they're facing the same direction before we solve for that missing side. After both of your shapes are facing the same direction, you're going to figure out what side do I need to find? What's my missing length? Once you know what you're looking for, now we can set up our proportion and solve it. Pause the video here, make sure you have all of your notes, and then we can solve some similar figure problems together. So we're going to do 4 problems today, and you're going to notice that I have the steps written again on the left-hand side, just so we can make sure that we are following each step with the problems that we solve today. So at the top here, I have 2 triangles that are facing the same direction, so I actually won't need to redraw, because they're already facing the same direction. So I'm going to go straight to identify the missing side. And I can see that my X is right here on like this slanted length. And so I need to figure out which side does X match up with on my other figure. And I can see that it matches up with 9. X and 9 are on the same sides of the triangles. So I'm going to circle those sides just to help me make sure that I don't mismatch or mislabel the proportion. And then I see that 1 and 3 go together because they're on the same side of the triangle, so I'm going to go ahead and box those. The circle and boxes really just helps me keep my work organized. So now when I set up the proportion, I have X over 1 because that's my first triangle, and that is going to be equal to 9 over 3. You're going to notice that X and 9 are on the same side of the triangle, so they're both in the numerators of my proportion. And then 1 and 3 are on the same sides of the triangles, so those 2 numbers are in the denominators of my proportion. All right? And now that we have it set up, we can solve proportions like we've been doing all week using the butterfly method. So I'm doing X times 3, that'll give me 3X equals 1 times 9, which is 9. I've set up my equation. Now we can go ahead and solve for X. Divide both sides by 3. My 3's cancel out here. I'm going to get X equals, well, what is 9 divided by 3? That's 3. So the missing side of this figure would be 3. All right, so I did the first example. Now I want you to go ahead and pause the video. Try to solve this problem on your own. Then press play and see if we got the same answer. If we did not, you got to go back and see where you made a mistake. But if we did, then you can move on to the next question. So I do not have to redraw this problem, so I can go ahead and skip that step. I'm going to figure out where my missing side is. I can see an X on the back side of that triangle, so I'm also going to circle 8 because I can see those go together. And then that means my 4 and my 16 go together. I've identified the missing side, so step 3 says set up the proportion. X over 4, because those are the 2 sides of my first triangle. And then that's going to equal 8 over 16, because those are the 2 sides on my second triangle. Again, notice that X and 8 are on the same side, so they are both in the numerator. And then 4 and 16 are also on the same sides, So those two numbers are in my denominator. I have set up my proportion. Now I'm going to go ahead and solve using the butterfly method. So x times 16 is 16x. And then 8 times 4 is 32. So 16x equals 32. Go ahead and divide by 16. And x equals 2. So the missing side on this similar figure would be 2. Hopefully we got the same answer and we're ready to try some harder problems. So you're going to notice on these two examples that the triangles are not drawn in the same direction. So this is where we're going to have to first redraw before we do any math. So it looks like I could straighten this triangle up, right? I'm kind of just making it go like that. And then I have to completely flip that triangle so that the 5 kind of becomes a little straighter. So I'm going to have 48 over here, and my x stays on the right side. But then over here, my 5 is all the way flipped on the other side of the triangle. And then 6 is still at the bottom. Now that I have redrawn those triangles so that they are in the same direction, I can set up my proportion. So x and 5 go together, and then 48 and 6 go together. So let's set it up. X over 48 equals 5 over 6. And then lastly, we can solve. I'm going to do the butterfly method. So I have 6x equals 48 times 5. So 48 times 5 is not some multiplication I can do in my head. So I have to go ahead and solve it off to the side. 48 times 5. Miss Thomas, what's 5 times 8?
40.
Carry my 4. Miss Thomas, what's 5 times 4?
20.
Plus 4.
24.
So 48 times 5 will be 240. All right, so I got 6x equals 240. I'm going to divide both sides by 6. My 6 is crossed out on the left side, I'm sorry. And I get x equals
40.
240 divided by 6. Miss Thomas already has those division facts memorized, so she knows that this equals 40. Now, I don't know if y'all have those division facts memorized, so you would have to do long division to figure out what that answer is. Okay, and then we know the missing side of this shape would be 40. Okay, so again, I just did a more complicated example. I want you to try to solve this problem on your own. Go ahead and pause the video. Then after you get your answer, hit play and see if we got the same thing. If we did, awesome, you're done with your notes. But if not, you want to go back and see where your mistake was so that you can correct it. Okay? Again, I'm going to have to redraw these shapes. So I'm going to make them both stand up on their flat side. My 20 is going to stay at the bottom and x is going to go to the left. And it looks like 2 is at the bottom and 3 would be to the left. Now that I've redrawn them, I have to figure out the missing side. So I need to figure out what x is. Well, x and 3 match up with each other. And then 20 and 4 match up with each other. So now I can set up my proportion. X over 20 is going to equal 3 over 2. And we're going to solve this using the butterfly method. X times 2 equals 20 times 3. That will give me 2x. 20 times 3 is 60. 2x equals 60. Remember, you're trying to get x by itself, so we're going to go ahead and divide by 2 on both sides. My 2's cancel. I'm left with x equals 30. So the missing side on that shape would be 30. And that kind of makes sense because this is 2 and this is 20. We just added a 0. So up here, this is 3. That will make sense for this to be 30. And that is how you solve similar figures. So once you have all of these beautiful notes written down on your paper, don't forget to take a picture and go upload it to Unit 2, Lesson 8, so you can get credit before you come to class.